Welcome to episode number 37 of the PISCOPOD. I am your host, Sasha. Thanks for tuning in on this fine April the 12th, 2026. Where in the hell does the time go? I can't believe we're already halfway through April. It just seems like yesterday was April Fool's. But when you think about the shit going on in the world, it seems like every day is April Fool's. And this episode shall be no different. Don't know where you guys are watching from. I am broadcasting from the foothills of the Rocky Mountains here in Alberta. And in true Alberta fashion, we are in the transition period between winter and spring, and the weather is up and down like a toilet seat. And that ain't no lie, I'm telling you. Yesterday, me and the wife and the meatballs, we were out most of the day, 17, 18 degrees Celsius, 66, 67 Fahrenheit for my American friends. All in all, a beautiful day. Fields were dry. Sun was shining for the most part. Beautiful day. T-shirt weather kind of thing. And had a fire going last night in the yard and was out until probably close to midnight. 1 o'clock in the morning, just a beautiful night out, and only to wake up this morning to snowflakes a-falling again. But, it drives me crazy. My wife laughs about it because she's like, Sasha, she's like, this is the weather in this part of the world every year. Every year we have this mixed bag of tricks, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm complaining, but we do need the moisture. But we've literally had more snow in the past, like, say, month and a half or so than we've had all winter. And weirder temperatures, too. We had a cold stretch there, December, kind of January-ish, but it wasn't very long-lasting, and wasn't a lot of snow involved with it either. Anyway, I digress. It is what it is. The moisture is good. Camping season is slowly creeping up. Some of us are already. I've seen the campers and the toy haulers going back and forth a few weekends already. So I know that these people are out. But me, I'm a warm weather. I'm not even a fair weather camper. I'm a warm weather camper, man. So, until it gets into the 70s and 80s, man, my trips out into nature are strictly day trips. And like I said, we were out yesterday and it was beautiful out. The gophers are out. That's how I always know that spring is, upon us or around the corner. As soon as I see the first gophers ripping around, that's usually a good indicator that spring is on its way and the milder temperatures are on the way. The Bears, the Alberta Bears, the Grizzlies, they're out. Split Lip, the Boss, they've already made an appearance in their habitat. So that's another sign that we are headed for the right direction. At least as far as nature goes. You can't really stop nature. But I gotta say, what the fuck, Canada? WTF, all caps. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I do know what's going on, but I just can't believe what's going on. And this is probably, me starting the show out with this is probably going to make a couple of my American friends smile because, they're always not hard on me, but they're always lamenting about how I'm shitting on the Americans and the United States and Trump and stuff like that. But have no fear. I might shit on them a little later. But for now, the big news is here in Canada. Carney. I don't know who's going to stop him or how we're going to stop him, but we got to stop him. If you aren't on board with this yet, man, you are just not paying attention here. Where do I start? He got another floor crosser to join his ranks. So he is one step closer to the majority government that he needed or that he needs and that he's been pining for. And if you're keeping track, this is going to be the first time in Canadian history that an unelected prime minister has gotten a minority government and who has turned it into a majority government without a single election. Okay? And for my non-Canadian friends who are watching, in order to keep you up to speed, if you guys remember a little while ago, about a year ago, maybe a little longer, when that pedophile Justin Trudeau stepped down so that he can play ass grab with Katy Perry, he just stepped down and there was a party leadership race, if you will. It wasn't really a race. He was just basically put into place by I mean Mark Carney. So he wasn't elected by Canadians per se, like you would think that an election is held in order to get a new leader of the country. But nope, he was just a puppet put into place. And through the voting polls, he got a minority government, which means that he's the leader, but he doesn't hold enough seats in Parliament in order for him to be a majority government. So it would kind of be like you would liken that to the President of the United States winning the election but not holding the House and the Senate. And not having power in the House and the Senate. So there's always that checks and balances, if you will, in place that they just can't go full retard. Here in Canada, we didn't give him a minority government. It was just through the luck of the draw and the fucking woke lefties that are down east and the grifters that live there. Not all of them. I know a lot of Eastern friends of mine that are just as upset about what's going on as we are here in the West. Here in Alberta, I think we're a little more up in arms, if you will, about what's going on because under Liberal governments since the beginning of time of Liberal governments, they have hated the West. We are basically the Texas of the North. You Americans call us snow Mexicans. We're basically the Texas of the North here in Alberta. You know, we had a booming energy infrastructure and economy going. We pay tens of billions of dollars to the East in equalization payments from this oil infrastructure. And you got a bunch of tree-hugging, granola-crunching cock gobblers down east that have since Pierre Elliott Trudeau's time. There was a famous picture of him when he took the CN rail through across Canada, basically, and when he was coming through Alberta, naturally because of his terrible energy policies and restrictions upon Alberta, when he was coming through Calgary and Edmonton and those places, there was people outside that were understandably upset and letting him know it. And there's a famous picture of him on the train, like basically just rolling through and giving everybody the finger. So nothing has really changed as far as that goes in our relationship with the East Coast. We're basically we're basically the mom and dad, and they're the kids that have no money. They're the unemployed basement dwellers. Um, and the West is the piggy bank. So when they need Slurpee money and beer money and money for smokes, um, we're 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 basically the piggy bank. The Liberal government is not doing too well when even their Quebec supporters are talking about how Mark Carney is just a terrible prime minister, and they're actively going for separation as well, and they also are calling for lack of better word, a regime change in Canada with Mark Carney. But like I said, this is going to be the first time in Canadian history that an unelected prime minister goes from a minority government to a majority government by basically bribing floor crossers. So it would be, again, I liken that to a Democrat joining the Republicans after an election, or vice versa, right? A Republican joining a Democrat after the constituents of their area or riding, as we call them here, have voted for one or the other parties. In the one case, the latest pig that just crossed over, she won her riding. Like, not even close. Like, she won her riding by some 45 or 46,000 votes. So the people that voted for her, they voted for a conservative constituent in the party. And less than a year later, she just, I guess I'm just going to cross the floor and I'm going to join the other party. So understandably, the people in her riding, I think it's Sarnia, Ontario, if I'm not mistaken, they're notably upset, as is any level-headed person that cares about Canada or their province in general, because, we're starting to realize, what the fuck is the point in voting, right? If they move the goalposts, the Liberal Party, because when Carney was put into power, their whole thing was, well, we're not voting. You're not voting for the person. You're voting for the party, and that's how they weaseled Carney into power. And now with these floor crossers, it's just the opposite. You're voting for the person and not the party. So they just change the rules to whatever fits the narrative, and Canadians of both stripes are left holding the bag, because unless you're on the social welfare programs, there's nobody out there that can sell me on the fact that that life hasn't gotten harder. They're trying to change housing legislation, which kind of fits into this 2030 agenda bullshit. In the new housing legislation, they're going to like none of the new home builds are going to have things like driveways. Okay, and now people think, well, what's the big deal, right? So they're selling it, if you don't have a driveway, the lot isn't going to have to be as big, which means that your property taxes are going to be lower. And though that may be true, though I doubt it, because they're always going to find a way to reach into your pockets and scoop money out. So though they're selling it as a positive thing, less property taxes, it kind of fits in with the 2030 agenda, because they're already saying that the way that these houses and new neighborhoods are going to be designed, they're going to make it extremely difficult to park your vehicle. anything from parking passes, which we've already seen in some of the older areas here in Calgary. Like if you live down in the University District and stuff like that, you have to buy a parking pass to park on the street and stuff like that. So they're going to make it increasingly difficult for people to park their vehicles, right? Which totally fits into their 2030 agenda of, either you're going to have an electric vehicle or better yet, you're going to be on transit. Okay? You're going to bus back and forth to work. So, I mean, I'd love to do a show where there's actually some good news, and hopefully one day, maybe in episode 50 when we do the regime change here in Canada, I'm hoping for a regime change like the United States military did in Iran. I, for one, would party in the streets if I seen them pulling Carney and his husband's body out of the rubble and parading it through the streets. That would be a good day for Canada. But like I said, he's continuing to do bribing floor crossers. The zipperhead that went over at Christmas time, Michael Ma is his name. Of course, it's only a coincidence that that he was in trouble for meeting with Chinese delegates and stuff like that shortly before all of that magically went away and everything changed in the press for him. Everybody knows that the CBC here in Canada is just a propaganda machine for the Liberal government. So that magically disappeared for him, and he's the project or the recipient of dinners at $1,750 a plate that our illustrious Prime Minister attended. Who else? Lori, I don't know what her last name is. Idlot. Idlot. Anyway, she was another floor crosser that recently joined the party, went from the Conservatives, where her entire riding of like Inuit people, Indigenous people, voted for her as a Conservative delegate in the riding. She recently crossed the floor. And again, of course, it's only a coincidence that she crossed the floor just as her son has caught a federal case here in Canada on child pornography charges. But that's only a coincidence, right? And again, that has all but disappeared from the news. So these monsters, basically, my take on it is these monsters, they're not even hiding this shit anymore. They are doing this in, they're not even doing it in the shadows anymore. They're doing it in broad open daylight, and fuck y'all if you notice anything about it. That's basically how they're operating now. Again, it's no different than, the shit going on in the States with the Epstein files. Trump firing Pam Bondi, coincidentally right before she's supposed to go in front of a committee to testify. But she can't really testify because now she's no longer in that position. So who does he appoint in that position? He appoints his personal lawyer, who helped arrange the sweetheart deal for Ghislaine Maxwell to a lower security prison in Texas, when we all know just by using our eyes that whoever the fuck is serving time for Ghislaine Maxwell in Texas is clearly not Ghislaine Maxwell. But anyway, right, it's like these monsters aren't even hiding it anymore. And it goes back to my earlier statement is like, what is the point in voting anymore? The truth of the matter, if you want to flip through old history books and stuff like that, the fact of the matter, sad but true, is that no positive change has ever come through the voting stations or the voting polls or casting a ballot. Never has it come. It's always been through, sad to say, it's always been through bullets and violence, man. And I think that they are underestimating the citizenry of the world, that they think that they've brainwashed us or cowed us to the point where we're just going to, it is what it is, and that's the way it goes. And I think that that's why they're kind of going after the youngsters, right? Start them young, indoctrinate them, mold their minds into just going along with the flow. You know, the shit that I'm seeing here in Canada, I have to apologize to any of the veterans that are watching the show, because for those of them that are still alive, and even for the ones that have passed on, you know, I would bet a king's ransom that if they were asked about it, they probably would not want to lay down their lives and watch all their friends and brothers and sisters die for Canada to become what it's become. If you haven't paid attention, last week there was you know, the alphabet people, the queers and the steers and the, you know, and the LGBTQ plus, whatever the fuck they're called now. Anyway, they added some more letters because the English language has 26 letters, don't you know? So they might as well use them all up. I think we're at 16 letters at this point. Anyway, they added a... So the new thing, Matt Walsh was lampooning us about it, rightfully so. A whole bunch of people have been hammering on us. And again, rightfully so, because it's fucking ridiculous. So they've recently added, so now the acronym is actually, and I wrote this down because it literally is so long that you have to write it down, because you won't remember it. So now the acronym is MMIWG2S LGBTQQIA+. And, of course, they have the plus on the end. Well, because they're probably going to add some more people that want to claim victimhood at some point. Now, the MMIW... that one pisses me off, okay? And the reason that one pisses me off is because that's actually a pretty important issue in the big scheme of things. And my wife is Indigenous. So the MMIW is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. And that is an important issue because... there has been a kind of a sweeping under the rug of Indigenous women in Canada being victimized, and, you know, the federal bootlickers, the RCMP, not only have they been complicit in some of these cases, like I recall an incident where they picked up a drunk Native man, you know, and literally dropped him off in the middle of I think it was the Saskatchewan prairies in the middle of winter, minus 25 or minus 26 below, wearing nothing but a jean jacket and a pair of sneakers. And the parents reported him missing. They kind of, we don't know nothing. I don't know what happened, you know, to Johnny Eagle Feathers. I don't know what happened, right? Anyway, they find the guy like 3-4 days later, frozen stiff in a field in Saskatchewan, right? I don't really recall the outcome of what happened to the RCMP officers involved in this. But I don't think much of anything happened, which has kind of been par for the course here in Canada about how the Indians in general are being treated. Right? So that MMIW thing on the front of the queer alphabet, if you will, that kind of pissed me off because that is actually an important issue. They also added a Q for people questioning, and I don't really recall what any of the other letters in the acronym stood for because personally, honestly, I don't give a fuck. Okay, and I think that I've said it before in earlier shows, man. You guys need to cash out and leave the casino because you're about to fucking crap out, man. And I feel it. I feel it when I talk to people on the street. I feel it when when I'm down the rabbit hole in my social medias. We have bigger fish to fry. The MMIW is certainly a bigger fish to fry, and I'm all on board with it is helping the indigenous culture to get a leg up. But having said that, our federal government is promising a lot of these corrupt chiefs all sorts of kickbacks and payouts in order to they launched a legal opposition to our Alberta separation because of the signed treaties and treaty rights and land rights and this, that, and the other thing. Now, again, I'm not too boned up on all of this, but what I do know is that a lot of these treaty rights, they were seceded, if you will, meaning that they were signed over, okay? And when you sign something over, if I sign over the deed to my vehicle to you, that means it's your vehicle, okay? That doesn't mean that when I see you, 50 years down the road doing burnouts and jumping curbs with it, that I can go, hey, wait a minute, you can't do that. That's my vehicle. That isn't how it fucking works. But nonetheless, we have liberal appointed judges that are strewn throughout our legal system that are throwing a wrench into the operation, if you will. The Alberta separation movement has clearly eclipsed the needed signatures that are required to hold this referendum in October, and there's really nothing that they can do at this point. The referendum is going because before the judges, what the judges here in Alberta did, a liberal judge has actually said that that they have to stop counting signatures at this point. But it doesn't really matter because we've already surpassed the required amount, so even if they stop us now, as far as I can tell, according to the Alberta separation lawyers that this group has, there's nothing that can be done. There's going to be a referendum held. I believe it's at October 9th. Like I'm having problems talking today. Anyway, so they're trying to put the kibosh on that however they can. And understandably so. Remember my earlier comment about Alberta being Eastern Canada's piggy bank? If we separate from Canada, meaning that we either become an independent territory, I don't have any hopes or desire really to become the 51st state. I mean, the United States of America currently is fraught with its own problems, so to me that would almost be like from the frying pan into the fire. But anything away from Eastern Canada and the woke liberal policies would be a good thing, whether that be the 51st state or whether that be an independent territory, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards. But they're trying everything to put the kibosh on that because if we become an independent territory, the provinces, they own the oil rights. And we are, I believe, the third or the first or the fourth largest oil and natural resources in the world. Not in Canada, not in North America, but the world. We are like on level with some of the Middle Eastern oil countries. We have tons and tons and tons of natural resources. We have one of the cleanest liquid natural gas extraction systems on the planet. Even though that old bedshitter Jane Fonda, and Leonardo DiCaprio when he's not on his super yachts wasting gas, they're shitting on the oil sands, which again is, there's no such thing as economically or environmentally friendly extraction processes. But the fact of the matter is that 100% of the globe is in need of energy. And that's just the way the old cookie bounces. And you're not going to get a poor country that's not as economically advanced as, say, someone like the United States or one of the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia or Qatar. You're not going to get a poor country that's going to go, oh, well, yeah, I'm just going to use solar power and hopefully that will work, when it's that much cheaper for them and easier for them to use the resources that God has given us, which is oil and gas and stuff like that. The only shitty thing about Alberta, again, going back to how good old Trudeau Sr. always had a hate-on for Alberta and our prosperity. That's how the equalization payments came into existence. He thought, oh, if you guys are going to be rich, you might as well just share the wealth. And, love it or hate it, that's what we've been doing. But we are getting increasingly targeted and attacked by the green woke lefties, but they still want the equalization payments. I think one of my earlier shows I was talking about how Quebec was one of the biggest recipients of our equalization payments, and during the COVID thing, they were actually in a surplus with their economy due to equalization payments and stuff like that. And instead of the federal government saying, well, you guys are in a surplus, we're going to cut the equalization payments. Sorry, something's posting up here. Canceled. Okay. So instead of saying that, we're going to cut the equalization payments because Canada has been hit pretty hard, with COVID and the drop in oil prices. No, they got every bit that they always get, and we had to suffer for it. And that's kind of par for the course about how Eastern Canada has been treating us for, ever since I can remember. I remember my parents talking about how much they fucking hated Pierre Elliott Trudeau and how Albertans and Western Canadians were getting bent over and dry fucked at every turn. So nothing has changed. The shitty thing is, if we would have had some really good leadership here in Alberta, our problem is we are landlocked. So in order for us to get our liquid gold to market, it has to be refined into something usable. And we have no refineries here in Alberta because we've always been, in lockstep with the United States of America, right? We've been pumping our energy products south of the border, and those pipelines, Pipeline 9, Pipeline 5, they go all the way down to the Texas oil refineries. where they get refined, turned into whatever the hell it is that's needed around the world, and then they get distributed out of there. Well, with Trump in office now and the tariffs and again, it's not just him because good old Sleepy Joe before him, the one of the first things he did within the first 3 hours of him taking office was crush the Keystone Pipeline, which would have increased our barrel production here in Alberta by almost 1.5 million barrels a day, right? So we're talking big money. And the thirst for energy hasn't been quenched. It's actually even more now because that's why Trump invaded Venezuela. It wasn't because Maduro was this big thorn in his side. It's because America needs oil. And America needs oil now even more because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And they're not letting anything through. So as Canada slips further into economic turmoil, they keep increasing the letters of the alphabet, people, because nothing says Canadian like victimhood, right? It just like literally even saying it makes me sick to my stomach to think that we have so many pussies and pansies that live here in Canada that all they can do is cry victimhood. I personally think that they like we're using, what is it, 16 letters now of our alphabet for this MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. I'm not even kidding. For you folks out there that are listening that think I'm joking, I'm not joking. This is a real thing. But being the asshole that I am, I think that we should add an FWWBCMOFB to that acronym because we can't forget the fat white woke bitches that can't mind their own fucking business. They need to be in there too because they are a marginalized group of people, I think. The funny thing here in Calgary, we have a really good pizza place. There's one just 10 minutes from my place, and then there's one out in Airdrie, Alberta, Paul's Pizza. And when the owner of that place heard about this expanding of the acronym, he posted, it was a bit off color, but it was funny and it was true. He posted something, and for the entire weekend since Thursday evening, I think, the Indigenous community and the pillow biters and the carpet munchers, they've all come for this guy's head. Thousands of terrible Google and Uber Eats reviews for this guy, and he is of Middle Eastern descent, I believe. And, rather than just saying, you know what, man, maybe we should just chill out and not try to fucking ruin a guy's business. No, the Indigenous people, they're like, you white people are funny. You guys are like siding with a colored person, and right? It's just fucking ridiculous. It really, really is ridiculous how these partisan politics work that, if you think that this is just something stupid, you must be racist against Indigenous people. You know how many times over this weekend, I've been called a racist, okay? And I just laugh. I laugh about it because, number one, my wife is Indigenous. Number two, I have a brother-in-law that's black. That old trope, I know gay people, so I'm not a homophobe. No, you have to be able to call, I'd be the first guy to call my ilk of Italians out as fucking greasy, crazy wops if warranted. Okay? Just like when I'm critical of Israel and the Jews. I don't hate all Jews, but what they're doing is crazy. the shit that I'm seeing is crazy. And if that means I got to drop a few J-bombs to get people to wake the fuck up and have a look, well, so be it. I guess I'm an anti-Semite then. So we're just sliding into the abyss here in Canada. Like I said earlier in the start of the show, that I know one American friend that'll probably cheer me on because I started this podcast with shitting on Canada instead of shitting on Trump and the shit going on down there. Carney came out. They had a liberal convention over the weekend. That hideous beast that he's married to was on stage. Why? I don't know. She's not a fucking elected official. So, tuck your penis in and go sit down. But anyway, she was on film talking about how Canada is going to lead the way once again, using the word the New World Order. And, say what you want, but I think that these are dead men walking, man. Because I think that if you see what's trending across the world, citizens are revolting. Ireland, they have seized a lot of the capitals in Ireland in protest against the digital currency, against the mass immigration. Cops are like dragging farmers out of their tractors and beating them. And, hats off to the fine Irish folk that are standing up. But that's a wave that's going to be spreading. I think it's going to be spreading here fairly rapidly. The attacks on the Christianity, you're allowed to block major thoroughways in like downtown Toronto to pray to Allah. But if you're reading Genesis, to a group of people that want to hear it, that's a hate crime. But like kneeling in the streets and calling for death to America and Allahu Akbar, that's just religious freedom. And I think that the Christians, they are too slowly in my opinion, but I think that they are starting to see which way the wind is blowing, and I think that you're going to see a major uprising here real soon. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. But of course, Carney was on the air talking about how some of the American social media giants are a bastion of misogyny and homophobic and racist and da-da-da-da-da, and he vows that his country is going to crack down on it. So that's just retard talk for censorship. That's what they're going to try to sell. That's what they're going to try to enact. And unfortunately, when I look at things like this Pizza Paul debacle that's going on here in my city, I'm frightened to know that there's so many spineless cucks that are breathing. And like I said earlier in the broadcast, nothing ever good has come through voting. I think voting is just an illusion to make you think that you have a choice. But you're basically buttering the same, opposite sides of the same toast is the way that it's looking. So that's where we are in Canada. It's a fucking big steamy shit show. It ain't getting any better, but here in Alberta we're fighting. It's a little more difficult in Alberta because you would think that with the corruption that's been proven with a lot of these Indian chiefs. I was reading an article the other day where the guys, I can't remember which Indian band it was from, but they don't even have fucking clean drinking water on their reservation. But the chief, him and his family are on this super luxury all expenses thing in Mexico, right? And like I said, these monsters, they don't even hide it anymore. They're just like, here's what we're going to do, and what are you going to fucking do about it? Because they're goading us into doing something about it. And I think that once we all wake up, um, I think they're going to be surprised as to what we're going to fucking do. Because you can only corner an animal for so long, and if they got nowhere to run, then they're going to get aggressive. During the liberal convention over the weekend, I can't remember who the speaker was, but he is talking about implementing a $500,000, I guess, fine, for lack of a better word, for anybody that wants to leave Canada, like a business owner or whatever. If you want to leave Canada, it's going to cost you 500 grand. So you have to ask yourself, isn't that a hostage situation now at this point? Like, if I'm in a free country, air quotes, if I'm in a free country and I can't pack up my family and my assets and fucking leave whenever I wish without a ransom being held over my head, well, that's a hostage situation. And sometimes hostage takers, they need to be planted in the ground, right? That's how some of the most successful hostage situations end, is when they cart the hostage taker out in a body bag. Now, my friend talks about, you talk about that you don't call for violence as you're promoting violence. And I concur. I've watched some of my podcasts back, and maybe I'm a little over the top in my rhetoric, but it's getting to the point. I'm starting to feel like a cornered animal, and I'm of that age where I hope that I got another good 20, 30 years in me, but I'm not scared. I'm not scared at this point, because this is not the Canada that I want to live in. This is not the Canada that I want I don't have children, but this is not the Canada that I want for my young nieces and nephews and their children. This is not the world that I want to grow up in, man, or that I want them to grow up in. I don't want, like we're actually talking about how, because Muslims are offended by dogs, that they're, like in the UK now, they have parks where you can't take a dog because it offends Muslims. Who gives a fuck what these people think, really, right? If you don't like fucking dogs, then go back to your own fucking country where there's no dogs and have at it. If you want Sharia law, well, go back to your own fucking country and have Sharia law. This is fucking Canada. This is the United States. This is North America. We don't practice Sharia law. And and if you want to go toe to toe, I know a lot of people that are ready to go toe to toe. Anyway, again, I don't want to go off on my radical rant here, but to round off the show, I would be remiss without talking about what's going on in the United States, and I'm going to try to do it without attacking Trump. But I do have one thing that I take issue with last week that happened with him. But anyway, so the war is still going strong. The United States had negotiated a peace deal and a ceasefire. Something really good. You got to commend Trump and his cohorts for navigating that. The Strait of Hormuz was going to be opened. And, of course, the good old Bibi Netanyahu and his band of J-Crew, of course they don't want anything like that to happen, because they literally want to take over the Middle East. So what did they do? They just continued to bomb Gaza, and they started bombing Lebanon. If you've seen the footage that's come out, they've tried to kill journalists that have been reporting on their war crimes in the region. The Israelis they dropped 164 bombs in 10 minutes into southern Lebanon. Almost all the areas that they've targeted have been civilian apartment buildings, schools, hospitals. So God's chosen people. They're the new Nazis. But we're supposed to believe that good old Adolf Hitler back in the 40s, he was the bad guy. But these vermin that are the state of Israel, I can't remember the name of the party. It's some fucking weird name. But we're supposed to believe that Netanyahu leads the most moral army on the planet. Yet they just can't seem. That's what pisses them off the most. That's why that's why the J Crew, that's why they own Google and they own Facebook and they own TikTok, right? Because they have to spin the narrative in their favor. Otherwise, the world is doing exactly what they're doing now and seeing them for the predator monsters that they are. You see Israelis destroying 13,000 eggs that people would eat, right? But that's okay. Just doing his job. Targeting women and children. Going in, ransacking houses. Raping people. That's where we're at. I think Trump has been duped. I think the people that are bending his ear, that are around him, are Zionist monsters. And I just don't think that he's being exposed. Like everybody calls him this old bed shitter and he's retarded and like he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm gonna throw him an olive branch here. I don't think that he's retarded. I think that he's isolated. I think that he is surrounded by people who know exactly what they're doing. They know all the buzzwords to tell him about how he's the greatest and you have 100% approval rating and this, that, and the other thing. I think that he's just being isolated from the truth of what's going on. And that probably explains a lot of the shit that he's doing that makes absolutely no sense to anybody. If you've seen his Truth Social post where he's attacking Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens and Alex Jones. Alex Jones, he was the first fucking rah-rah Trumper in his fucking camp. And now he's calling him a fucking bankrupt loser and deservedly so and blah, blah, blah. And he calls Candace Owens a third-rate podcast host who's not very intelligent and has nothing going for her. That's why she's been fired from all her jobs, and she attacks the beautiful Brigitte Macron. Yeah, the same Brigitte Macron, the dude, the one that's in the bikini with his fucking wiener bulge in the bikini. Everybody knows it's a fucking dude, and he's hoping that that the Macrons win a lot of money in their lawsuit. Well, the fact of the matter is that lawsuit, it's just on the books. They're not going to go to trial because then Candace Owens has discovery on her side, right? So all of Brigitte's, all of his secrets are going to come to light, especially because they're suing in an American judicial system. I think that they filed it in D.C. or Delaware or whatever. They filed this lawsuit. So, right, all this shit's gonna come to light. So they're not gonna go. It's never gonna see the inside of a courtroom ever. They're just trying to bankrupt her because they're using French taxpayer money to fund this bogus lawsuit because Brigitte Macron is a man, a pedophile, who groomed Emmanuel Macron when he was like 14 or 15 years old, and that's what they're fucking hiding. That's what these elites are hiding. Anyways, so the war is still going on in Israel. Or in Iran, and like I said, Trump had a peace deal brokered. Everything was looking, somewhat rosy. But then good old Israel just fucking started, we need to kill more women and children. Let's go into Lebanon. So, of course, Iran was like, well, wait a minute. I thought that there's a ceasefire. And Bibi came out and said, nope, Lebanon was not part of the ceasefire. We're still trying to, we're still trying to expand our territory. So they're never going to be satisfied until the Greater Israel Project is fulfilled. And that's with the Trump Gaza Hotel. That's going to be with them owning portions of and controlling portions of Syria and Lebanon, which is exactly what they're doing. They are not the Jews of the Bible. And they're using biblical teachings in order to get, a lot of people who rarely read the Bible in order to, it's biblical prophecy. People like Mike Huckabee, people like Ted Cruz, Laura Loomer. I mean, Trump actually, don't listen to Tucker Carlson. He's a broken man ever since he got fired from Fox. He's never been the same. Candace Owens is a third-rate podcast host who, is not very intelligent and has nothing going for her. Right? Anybody with fucking half a brain and a Google machine knows that that's just not the case. Candace Owens has the #1 podcast in the world. Beat out Joe Rogan. Tucker Carlson. Also, I mean, they are now arguably the voices of the MAGA movement. Like the real MAGA movement, the real Make America Great Again. Not Israel first, but America first. He called, the leader of the free world is name calling Marjorie Trader Brown. That's what he says on his Truth Social. I mean, it was just such an odd thing to tweet that even his supporters on Truth Social were fucking going like, dude, are you okay? Anyway, that's where we're at. The world is going to shit. Nothing is changing. The only good thing is, here in my area, spring is on the way. Bears are out. Birds are singing. Gophers are digging, doing gopher shit. And, I'm looking forward to camping season, to get out in the mountains, to turn off the blue lights of the devices that everybody's using now. And, I continue to read my Bible. Thank you, Mr. G. Thanks for your emails. I do read them. I don't always respond to the emails that I get, but I do read every one. And he is still on the love your enemies. I get it. That's what Jesus teaches. That's what my pastor keeps burning into my head. Mr. G, you keep talking about it as well. I'm just not there yet, man. I'm of the Crusader Christians. I want people to die at the end of the sword. Anyway, folks, that is my time for today. Thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate all your comments, all your feedback. Please hit my like and subscribe buttons. I think they're on that side of the screen. Give me some feedback. Share this. Hit like, hit subscribe, and be safe out there. Anyway, guys, stay vigilant, stay safe, love your guts, and we will talk to you next week, same time, same place. See ya!
Yo, the curtain drops, watch the show unfold. Puppets on a string, ain't no truth to be told. From Carney up north to Trump in the White House, they all played a role while the shadows pull the strings, taking control. Secret societies, they laughing in the dark while we fighting against each other, they just feed the spark. Putin flexing hard, Zelensky keeping it real. Netanyahu's always lying, begging America, crying, what the fuck's the deal? We're falling in the chaos, but they pulling the strings. Ain't no real leaders, just thugs and they bling. Keep us divided, that's the ultimate plot. No matter who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot. Getting shot, getting shot, getting shot, getting shot, getting shot. Katy Perry kissed a girl while Trudeau's in the mix. Got her by speaking moistly while Canada's elbows down. Asses up, taking America's dick. Ooh, shit. Carney's always scheming, making moves in the dark while the world's distracted by his bullshit remarks. He whispering sweet, nothing's keeping the plot thick. Canada's his bitch bent over, this damn country's going to shit. Country's going to shit, shit, shit. We ballin'! We ballin' in the chaos, but they pulling the strings. Ain't no real leaders, just thugs and they bling. Keep us divided, that's the ultimate plot. No matter who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot, getting shot, getting shot, getting shot. No matter who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot, getting shot, getting shot, getting shot. No matter who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot. The left and the right, it's a puppet parade. While the rich keep us fighting, they just cash in the fade. All the world's a stage and we play our part, but the real masterminds just laughing at the yard. So wake the fuck up, stop playing the fool. They divide and conquer while we drown in the pool. We ain't gotta listen, rise up from the floor. Break the strings, burn the stage, we ain't taking no more. So when the curtain drops, we'll stand side by side. No more pulling the strings, we're done with this ride. In this Game of Thrones, we'll rewrite the script, cause together united, we won't let it slip. We ballin' in the chaos, but they pulling the strings. Ain't no real leaders, just thugs and they bling. Keep us divided, that's the ultimate plot. No matter who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot. Who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot. No, who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot. Get shot. Who's in charge, we all just puppets getting shot.